The north side is the little one. Yeah, some kind of significance. I'm not sure. But, yeah, near the piece of Sarah. Well, we can't do it without you, Sarah. Well, you're you got a life certificate. It doesn't have as much detail.
It doesn't have.
That's for us.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's for the speakers.
Okay.
Right? But at least does it show you when to light?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes and no.
As long as it does that.
Yes and no. It has me lighting earlier than the readings. That's the thing.
Oh, well, it's right here.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And then the Shema, but there's other stuff before the Shema.
There is.
Okay.
Right. No, I think there's. This is just.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, snap that and move it. Let's see. And there'll be a minute between your explanation.
It'll be a minute because I'm going to have to walk down.
Okay, cool. You move, I move.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so good.
Well, good evening. I want to greet our audience here in Sicilian Hall and also our audience online. We're live streaming this program this evening to all of our conference goers. So welcome to both groups. It's our first time doing this, and I'm hoping it all goes well. It's nice to see some of you here in person with us tonight as well as we remember Kristallnacht. That night in 1938, that was the beginning of the Holocaust. I'm Dr. James Paharic. I'm the director of our National Catholic Center for Holocaust Education. And I'm, again, pleased to have you in the audience and also our virtual audience from the conference. And I just want to mention before we start the ceremony that for our virtual audience, we will have a full day of events tomorrow. Tomorrow is day 4, the closing day of our conference. So please check your schedules. There will be programs at 11 a.m., at 3 p.m., and the closing program for the conference will be at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Very much looking forward to hearing from Father Walter Kajerski, U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops, in our final presentation tomorrow evening. So with that, let us begin our solemn ceremony this evening with an instrumental.
Six million Jewish men and women, 1.5 million children among them, were taken by other human beings to die in gas and fire, their ashes spewed from the chimneys of Auschwitz to mingle with the breezes and fall nameless and graveless over a continent that had become a graveyard. We will now light a candle in memory of those victims. As we light this candle, we commit ourselves to being responsible for one another, to building on this earth a room that has no place for hatred, no place for violence. Lord, as we gather today, we pray for courage and for strength. We remember the eruption of violence on November 9th, 1938. The vicious anti-Semitism with destructive, deadly violence. We remember the terror that struck at the central institution of Jewish life, when some 200 synagogues were set ablaze, desecrated, destroyed. We remember the state-organized violence became permissible, even acceptable, as 7,500 places of business were ransacked along with thousands of private homes. We remember the violence became more calculated and dangerous, and that more than 100 Jews were killed outright, and nearly 25,000 were shipped off to concentration camps. We are almost afraid to make ourselves remember these horrors. but we are even more afraid to forget. We cannot erase yesterday's pain, but we can vow that the suffering was not in vain. We may remember, and yet not lose hope. We must face evil, and in doing so, reaffirm our faith in the future. For those who found courage to stand against evil, often at the cost of their lives, let us vow to carry on their struggle.
Please rise. The Shema, proclaiming the oneness of God, is said at daybreak and nightfall. It has been on the lips of Jews for thousands of years. These words came to be the last words recited by many going to their death. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You may be seated. Thus says the Lord, a voice is heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are not. The savage, searing breath of the Holocaust was also felt by those who risked their lives to give a helping hand to their neighbors in their hour of darkness, and by those others who died for the crime of being different in a time of madness and terror.
Why are you so far away from me, from the words of my groaning? O my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our ancestors trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried, and they were saved. In you they trusted, and were not put to shame. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in my breast. My mouth is dried up like clay, and my tongue cleaves to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death.
I will walk
But you are the Holy One, enthroned, the praise of Israel. In you our mothers and fathers trusted. They trusted, and you rescued them. To you they cried out, and they escaped. In you they trusted, and were not disappointed.
Martin Niemöller, a pastor in the German Confessing Church, spent 8.5 years in a concentration camp. After the war, he wrote these famous words as he looked back on the time of the Holocaust. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I did not speak out. I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me. There was no one left to speak for me. Pope John Paul II, who was a young man in Poland, knew well the heel of Nazi inhumanity, reminds us, and I quote, "Remembering the Shoah means hoping it can never happen again, and working to ensure that it does not." Faced with this immeasurable suffering, we cannot remain cold or silent. Faith teaches us that God never forsakes those who suffer persecution, but rather reveals himself and enlightens through them all peoples on the road to salvation. End quote. Now, friends, it is our custom at Kristallnacht to invite a survivor of the Holocaust to speak with us. Some years we've had several survivors. We've been blessed by their presence here. One of our dear friends who was with us every year, Shulamit Bastaki, passed away sadly earlier this year. And that just brought home to us how important it is to continue to remember the witnesses of Holocaust survivors. So this evening, we are very graced to have a Holocaust survivor from the Pittsburgh area, Mr. Albert Farhy, with us to learn about his story. And so I will get our video set up. It will take me just 1 second, and we'll continue with the video that we have created in which Albert shares his story with us. The video that we're about to show focuses on the story of Albert Farhy, who is a Holocaust survivor from Bulgaria. And the story of Bulgaria is not very well known, but it certainly deserves to be heard. The nation of Bulgaria had a formal alliance with Nazi Germany and was in general supportive of Nazi policies. It stood by as the Nazis rounded up Jews from the region, from the Balkans, and arrested them, imprisoned them, in some cases killed them. And it did nothing. However, when it came time for the Nazis to invade Bulgaria itself, there were protests. The government permitted the Jews of Bulgaria to have some property confiscated. It permitted people to be sent to forced labor camps in the nation. But there was an organized resistance to deporting the Jews of Bulgaria to the death camps. So truly, the story of the Bulgarian Holocaust is one that is sad, but also in some ways hopeful and uplifting, because it's one of the few nations. Denmark is the other exception. We talk about it as the Denmark exception during the Holocaust. It's the other country where the Nazis met this kind of organized resistance, and where the majority of the Jewish population of the nation survived the war. And so, yes, it was a difficult time, as you will hear in Albert's story, but the encouraging thing is that the government of Bulgaria, despite their alliance with Nazi Germany, the Orthodox Church in Bulgaria, and even ordinary citizens of the nation spoke out very strongly against the deportation of Bulgarian Jewish citizens to the death camps. And so that's the story we will learn this evening. We'll hear about what happened in Bulgaria and also what happened to Albert and his family during those years. And by the way, I should mention too that, as you'll see in the video, this is the first video in a series of videos that we are creating with local Holocaust survivors. It's made possible through a generous grant from Hans and Leslie Fleischner. And so this is the first tonight that we're premiering. There will be other videos to follow, but I'm so happy that in this first video, we're able to tell Albert's story. As you know, Albert is a very articulate witness about those years, and his story is very compelling.
All of us at Seton Hill University are grateful for the generosity of Hans and Leslie Fleischner, the brother and sister-in-law of noted Holocaust scholar Eva Fleischner, in acknowledging her life's work through the creation of the Eva Fleischner Oral History Project. The first-person video accounts of Holocaust survivors, including Albert Farhy, whose testimony you are about to hear, are challenging to watch, but are an amazing gift to the world that will now exist in perpetuity at Seton Hill University and its National Catholic Center for Holocaust Education. Albert's story and the testimony of other survivors will be accessible to college and K-12 educators so that they may share these oral histories with their students well into the future. As our nation, and indeed our world, witnesses the rise of authoritarianism, fostered by anti-Semitism, racism, and disinformation, it remains important to allow history to speak for itself. We are grateful to Albert Farhy and all the survivors who have participated in the Eva Fleischner Oral History Project. Thank you for making your voices heard and sharing your powerful stories with us.
The goal of Seton Hill University's National Catholic Center for Holocaust Education is to educate and integrate history into the present so that we do not forget the tragedies of the Holocaust, and so that we as scholars, faculty, and teachers continue to hear the voices of these survivors and share them with future generations. Since its founding in 1987 by Sister Gemma Del Duca and Sister Mary Noel Kernan, Seton Hills Center has made scholarship on the Holocaust and other acts of genocide accessible to educators at every level. The university initiated this national Catholic movement toward Holocaust studies in response to the urging of Pope John Paul II to recognize the significance of the Shoah, the Holocaust, and to, in his words, promote the necessary historical and religious studies on this event, which concerns the whole of humanity today. We're forever grateful to the survivors who have shared their testimonies with us and who speak for the millions who were silenced.
My name is Albert Farhy. I was born in Bulgaria. I am now 92 years old, and when I was 12, 13, I was in the Holocaust in Bulgaria. When I was growing in Bulgaria, the anti-Semitism was slowly penetrating Bulgaria, spreading from Hitler's Germany. I will see on the streets wall, on the houses, death to the Jews, and the Hitler signs, the swastika. And I was feeling depressed, why this anti-Semitism? The first thing that they did is declaration of all what every family possesses, including wedding rings, earrings, everything, money, furniture, and then to give it to the government. They know what you have. I remember my father and mother took these things and put it in the vaults of the National Bank, which was very wise. The next step was to mobilize all Jewish male between the ages of 20 and 40 for hard labor as help to the engineering army forces of Bulgaria. My father was in this category, but he was officer in charge of the canteen. And one day I was walking with him, he was with the uniform, walking on the street, and one group of German soldiers saluted. And I told him, Papa, if they know that they're saluting a Jew. I remember this vividly. At that time, this was 1941. At that time already they were killing the Jews in the crematoriums. Among the rules in the law against the Jews, it was that on the front door of any Jewish residence supposed to post with the Star of David the names of the inhabitants inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were 5 people. 3 brothers and the parents. So all this was systematic preparation for the deportation. The Jewish population in Bulgaria was very small compared to other countries. It was less than 50,000. 30,000 of them live in the capital of Sofia. The others were spread in different provinces. And the 30,000 had to go to be spread in different towns, ghettos. So this is the last step before the deportation out of Bulgaria. I remember I was at school and coming from school, ringing the bell, knocking, nobody opens the door. Finally, my mother opened and said, "Quiet, they're giving the notices for deportation." And I remember when we went in the ghetto in the town of Pleven, the biggest town in northern Bulgaria. And I was 13, and I felt like adult. Together we went in the middle of the night, the train to Pleven. And we stayed there at least 2 months. We stayed there because my father succeeded with some top official to permit us to move to another ghetto. It is in his town of birth. So all the relatives, my grandparents live there and other relatives. So it will be more pleasant for us to be among family members. Jews and Bulgarians together protested. You know, they heard about the order that will be coming to leave our homes. The order for the first shipment of Jews to the death camps. We were very close to the deportation, 4 hours, when the train was aborted. I did not see the dead people, nobody from my family was killed. And then I said, I have to say something. I have something and it is positive. We survived. The Americans were bombed almost every day, Sofia. Everything was mud and broken buildings. Shrapnel from one side of the house went through the other side. So all these things my father repaired before we went home from the ghetto. Even people who were anti-Semites, at this moment, their conscience came. And they believe that we did not know this will happen, she said. We did not really, means that, okay, we hated the Jews, but we don't want to kill you. You know, we did not believe really that this will happen. And can I help you? Those were the words that I was standing next to my mother. And this happened. We returned. All the neighbors, even the Gestapo, that gave to the Gestapo in their house to be. When they saw us coming, they came to their balcony, and we in our balcony, very, very happy. It is something temporary. Hitler, you know, the German nation is Beethoven, Mozart, you know, they were not anti-Semites, they were proud Germans. There is good and bad people, you know, among any. There is no such thing like perfect person. Everybody is susceptible to indoctrination and hate.
Watch, but are an amazing gift to the world.
Thank you so much, Albert. It's really important that you're here with us this evening and that we have a chance to thank you in person for doing the interview with us and for being the first in our series of videos of Holocaust survivors. Well, it's now time for us to continue and close actually our service this evening. So will you please stand? We end our service by reflecting upon the words found on a wall in a cellar in Cologne, Germany, where Jews hid from the Nazis. These were the words written on the wall. I believe in the sun, even when it is not shining. I believe in love, even when feeling it not. I believe in God, even when God is silent. We now light a candle as a symbol of hope and peace. We hope all human beings will live together in harmony, and that light will overcome darkness of prejudice, persecution, war, and genocide.
Now let us commit ourselves to reconciliation, a sign of peace, shalom, paz, salam, pate, by singing Let There Be Peace on Earth. Very beautiful. I want to thank all of the readers and our wonderful musicians from Seton Hill students who were with us tonight. Thank all of you for being here. Thank Rabbi Perman for leading us with beautiful singing of the Shema. We look forward to that every year. And thank all of you who have joined us in person and those who are with us virtually in the conference. And thanks especially to Albert Farhy, who we have the pleasure to honor this evening. Thank you. This ends our service. My blessings to you all. Have a safe evening. Good night.